I want to thank NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Go to nordvpn.com/polyphonic and enter the code polyphonic to save 77% and start protecting your internet experience today. In 1975, during the promotion of his Young Americans album, a new character started to take hold of David Bowie. Alter egos were nothing new to him, with the cosmic psychedelia of Major Tom and the sexual glam of Ziggy Stardust dominating his early career, but this was different. The wild, colorful outfits were replaced by a simple waistcoat. The fabulous spaceman had transitioned into a skeletal, pallid figure, clad in black and white. Alongside this new look came a bleak moral outlook, exemplified by fascist leanings. David Bowie's darkest character had taken hold as he became the Thin White Duke. Let's take a closer look. Bowie's transformation into the Thin White Duke began in 1975 when he moved to Los Angeles. While there, he isolated himself and began a downward spiral, sustaining himself on a diet of peppers, milk, and cocaine. He obsessed over the occult, burning black candles in his apartment, and became fascinated with fascist mythology. This descent was amplified by Bowie taking on his first role in a feature film, The Man Who Fell to Earth. In that movie, Bowie played Thomas Jerome Newton, a detached alien posing in a human body. Newton quickly becomes corrupted by the sex, liquor, and consumption of American society. This character provided part of the inspiration for the Thin White Duke's look, and clearly hastened Bowie's descent into darkness. The Thin White Duke didn't just come out in Bowie's art, it also worked his way into his social interactions and interviews. In one notorious interview, he even praised Adolf Hitler, calling him, quote, one of the first rock stars, and saying he was quite as good as Jagger. He even said that America needed a good dose of fascism, saying, quote, you've got to have an extreme right-wing front come up and sweep everything off its feet and tidy everything up. Understandably, this drew controversy, which was amplified when a photo captured Bowie doing what appeared to be a Nazi salute. It became difficult for everybody, Bowie included, to tell what was David Bowie and what was the Thin White Duke. Years later, Bowie would look back on this and say that it was all performance art, but it's really hard to tell. But while the fascism drew the headlines, that's not all there was to the Duke. In addition to the Aryan leanings, Bowie described the character as a would-be romantic with absolutely no emotion at all, but who spouted a lot of neo-romance. Coming out of Young Americans, which featured Bowie crooning Blue-Eyed Soul, this analysis becomes incredibly relevant. The title track of that album is equal parts romantic and cynical, singing of the beauty of being young, followed by the pain of aging and falling out of love.
All the way from Washington, her breadwinner begs off the bathroom floor. We live for just these 20 years. Do we have to die for the 50 more?
Alongside Young Americans, a song like Fame sings of how the pressures of fame will get to an artist and drive him mad.
Fame makes a man take things over. Fame lets him loose, hard to swallow. Fame puts you there where things are hollow.
In the Young Americans album, you can really see the themes that will dominate the next period of Bowie's life as he approached the threshold of turning 30. And where Young Americans laid down the groundwork for the Thin White Duke, Station to Station was the character's opus. The title track of that album is a 10-minute epic, the longest song of Bowie's career, and a parade of sorts announcing the Thin White Duke. The song begins with an extended instrumental reflecting another aspect of the Duke, Bowie's shift away from rock music into more experimental territory. It slowly builds to a climax before exploding into a dark, mechanical theme that sounds midway between a soul groove and a fascist war march, filled with screeching machinery. When the lyrics open, we get our first clear picture of the Thin White Duke. The Thin White Duke is bold and ostentatious, carelessly shattering the illusions of young lovers, throwing darts into their eyes. Then in the first verse, we get a sardonic take on fantasy. The beautiful words that Bowie sings are undercut by the Duke's callous demeanor. This section references Shakespeare's The Tempest, paraphrasing a line spoken by Prospero, a powerful sorcerer who becomes consumed by his magic and renounces it by the end of the play. This sets the stage for the mysticism that will follow in the song, and also sets up a parallel between Prospero's magic and Bowie's music. Both Prospero and the Thin White Duke have the power to ensnare the unwitting with their arts. The next lines of the song tap into the Duke's desire to change music, bend sound, and dredge the ocean to clean the world and bring about his new vision. Bending sound, dredging the ocean, lost in my circle. The Duke also mentions that he's lost in a circle, something that carries a lot of mystical weight, particularly in Kabbalah, a form of Jewish mysticism. One of the aspects of Kabbalah is the idea of stations through which God, wisdom, and the infinite may reveal themselves. Two of these stations are later mentioned in the verse, Kether, meaning the crown, and Malkuth, meaning the kingdom. Here are we, one magical movement from Kether to This mysticism permeates the song with a reference to White Stains, a book by occultist Aleister Crowley at the end of the second chorus. Then we break into a new verse, this one a hollow facsimile of Bowie's Blue-Eyed Soul. In this section, Bowie sings of the longing for meaning that the Duke can't have. He wants something to believe in, he wants to find some way to connect to the world, but ultimately he's doomed in this search. This brings us to one of the most telling lines of the song. It's not the side effects of the cocaine. I'm thinking that it must be love. Bowie and the Duke want to fill the void with something other than cocaine, but it's unclear whether this line is earnest or whether the Duke is just deluding himself into believing something is love when it really is just the cocaine eating away at his brain. After this plea, the song erupts into its final movement, which pushes through the last 4 minutes. The Duke realizes that it's too late for these emotions to sweep him up, that there's no time for any feeling beneath his cold shell. This section also references the European canon. This could be reference to the European canon of political thought, one molded by monarchy that birthed the ideals of fascism. And it could also be talking about how the Thin White Duke is going to shift American music, introducing aspects of the European musical canon to soul and rock, America's native art forms. These lines repeat with interjections and solos for the rest of the song, building to a triumphant finish. The Thin White Duke has taken over Bowie. In the rest of Station to Station, we can find aspects of the Thin White Duke. The romantic facade fits perfectly with Golden Years, which was the original intended title for the album before the Duke took over. In the context of the Thin White Duke, Golden Years goes from a genuine song to something more sardonic with a sinister undertone. This is exemplified by one line especially, "Run for the shadows." There's darkness beneath the golden exterior. Later in Station to Station, we get songs like Word on a Wing and Wild is the Wind. These are cries for help.
Well, it's safer than the strange land, but I still care for myself, and I don't stand in my own light.
Bowie has been consumed by his addiction and his character, but there's a humanity sticking out from beneath him. Bowie wants to be freed from his self-imposed prison. With the help of his friend Iggy Pop, Bowie managed to pull out of his descent. He moved away from Los Angeles and tried to get clean. The Thin White Duke got no dramatic death like Ziggy Stardust, however. He had no public retirement. Instead, the character just faded away and became a demon of sorts, forever lingering in Bowie's past. Later in life, Bowie would refer to that period as the darkest of his life, calling the Duke a nasty character indeed. And while he brought upon a twisted darkness, the Thin White Duke is also responsible for some of the best music that David Bowie ever made. In the end, maybe that's what fascinates me most about the Thin White Duke. The twist of greatness and darkness, and the question that still lingers to this day. How much of that was David Bowie, and how much of it was the Thin White Duke? Hi everyone, I want to thank NordVPN for helping to sponsor this video. Head to nordvpn.com/polyphonic and use the code polyphonic to save 77% right now and to start protecting your internet experience today. As someone who creates content on the internet, the security of my data is really important to me. I often worry about the possibility of something like my YouTube channel, my banking information, or really anything I do online being compromised, and that's why I'm really happy to be working with NordVPN. Today's internet environment is one full of issues like net neutrality and ISPs throttling your access, so you really can't be too careful. By using military-grade encryption, Nord can really help you protect yourself online on a number of devices. They've got everything from a lightweight Chrome browser extension to Android and iOS apps. I've been using NordVPN and their servers are super fast. Honestly, I don't even notice it's there when I'm browsing the internet, but I know it's in the background keeping me safe. It's much more seamless than any of the VPNs I've used in the past. If you go to nordvpn.com/polyphonic and enter the offer code polyphonic, you'll save 77% on your account. That means for a bit more than the price of a cup of coffee a month, you'll be able to browse the internet worry-free on up to 6 devices at any given time. So head on over now to start protecting your internet experience, ensure your data is safe, and to show your support for my channel while you're at it.